Alyssa Naeher, welcome back to the women's game. So at this point, we all know why we're here. Two-time World Cup champion, 113 appearances for the U.S. women's national team, Olympic gold medalist, 7-time She Believes Cup champion. I really don't know what they're going to do at She Believes without you, Alyssa. You've just announced your retirement from international football. First things first, was there a very first moment you started to consider this?
I mean, if you ask any of my friends, the running joke has been I've been saying I'm going to do this for like 4 years. But so it's just, I think, been like a continuous, like at the end of every year, you reevaluate where you're at, how you're playing, how you feel. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think I kind of came into this year like with that feeling of like, I feel like it was going to be like the last one, which I think also kind of let me be like very at peace and very like almost a little bit more free, even to start the year and obviously going into it. But then obviously as things played out, I was like, maybe I could keep going a little bit like this, do whatnot. But I think it just feels like the right time. It feels like, we've had such an incredible year. I've done everything individually that I could have ever dreamed of accomplishing and more with this team. And I just feel like there is like that little bit of moment of clarity of like, it just feels like it's the right time. Like U.S. national team is like cyclical. So now we're looking very much ahead to 27, 28. And I think that I was so proud and happy to be part of this past year and like the transition from, kind of that older generation, like into this new school. And I loved being a part of that. And now I just feel like it's time to pass the baton and to move on and just be grateful for the memories and the career and everything we've been able to accomplish as a team.
Yeah, that's incredible. Hearing you talk about that transition is something we're going to get to in a little bit, but I think what I'm hearing you say is that you've helped like usher in this new generation of players and that you actually feel really confident leaving this team in their hands. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. When you first started kind of processing this decision, who did you confide in your life? And who did you start to say, I'm thinking about doing this? And how did you get through some of those initial feelings of whatever they were?
Being part of that transition school, I think being around for so long, I actually was on the other side as well of like different transitions from like the Abby, Piercy, Boxy, that generation kind of transitioning and watching how, they carried themselves, they got the team prepared and they instilled in all of us like, this is what this team is about. This is what like the DNA of this team is. It's like, I've seen the transition from players leaving. So being able to take that with not just myself, obviously, with the number of other players in my generation of this team. But I think, I reached out to Lauren Holiday a lot. Definitely somebody that I trust immensely. I talked to Mal a lot about it as we were going through it. And different people here in Chicago, my family, obviously, I talked to my dad about it. And I think it was funny when I talked to him, I think he was like expecting me to retire from both and just like kind of go cold turkey. And he was like, Liz, I'm so glad you've decided to at least stay with Chicago and like keep playing and not, he was like, not ready for it yet. To be, we're not ready. But I think just some family and some of I talked to Kristen and Tobin about it a little bit when I was out in LA and just trying to get like a sense of what it's going to look like. How
did you tell Emma?
I just grabbed her when we got into camp in Austin. I was like, I would love to have a conversation. Like obviously we've had a big year. I'm 36 years old. It's not like, obviously we had just had a meeting too of like 27, 28. We're very much looking towards the future. And I was like, I've got big decisions that I need to make. You obviously are a big part of that. And I want to have this conversation of where I could fit into that, where I would fit in and kind of different things. And I had already kind of gone into the meeting pretty at peace and pretty settled with, it felt like the right time. The only thing that would have changed is if she like had like begged, like, no, please don't, which I think would have just made it harder, honestly. Because I think in my head, I know that this is the right thing to do, but obviously it's like, it's hard to move on. It's hard to like actually let reality sink in. But it was a great conversation. She was very supportive and just very complimentary of the career that I've had, and was very much like, hey, how can we make this special for you? How can we help you? In this transition, what do you need from us and from me and the team? So it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, it's definitely such an emotional decision. And it sounds like I heard you say you feel at peace with it and that this is the right time. What are some of the other emotions that you feel announcing this? Pride? Do you feel any sadness? It's kind of the end of a huge chapter of your life, or is it relieving or liberating in any way?
I think, honestly, all of those words that you just described kind of sum it up. I think it depends on which day you ask me, or even in what hour of the day that you ask me.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit surprising and out of character a little bit as well to like pre-announce like my decision to retire before I always kind of envisioned myself with like the Irish exit of just like disappearing and just being gone. But I think in talking to other people and it was something that kind of wanted to, from like a processing standpoint and different things, like allowing the time to like feel the things and experience the things and have that kind of, rather than just like being done, having the time to really process it in the moment and kind of soak it all in. But yeah, I mean, I think I started telling, obviously some of the girls in different conversations. And I think that's what the sadness is going to be, just not being on the field, not being in the locker room, not being on the trips. I think you know better than anybody what it's like to be part of this team, and just it's not just the soccer side of things, but yeah, I think it's a lot of different emotions all at once.
I'm so glad you're still going to be playing with Chicago, because letting go of all the soccer all at once is really, really hard. And something I experienced a lot in my retirement was also my family's kind of emotional response to me being done and to not having this opportunity to come and watch me play anymore. And I think what's so crazy about it is you said yourself, you're 36 years old. Nobody can do this forever. But when it's finally time, it's kind of like, are we sure it's time? Like, are we really ready to let go of this? It's really, really hard in so many ways, but you will find so many other awesome opportunities in your life. And there are still moments that I feel like I'm on a team, reuniting with old friends, seeing people out, even like this new job that I have, you find that kind of sense of teamwork in other things. And that is a really cool opportunity as well. I do want to take a moment to celebrate you, Alyssa. You're one of the greatest U.S. Women's National Team goalkeepers of all time. So we're going to talk through some highlights that will definitely be engraved in U.S. Women's National Team history. I want to know from you, is there a particular match or game or even moment where you felt like you had to step up in a way that really defined your career?
I think probably the easy answer is the semifinal against England.
It's literally written down right in front of me, because that's what I was going to say.
I think that was probably the most like memorable, I guess. I think there were a lot of moments that led to that. I think the transition after starting in 2017, when starting to play more and playing in just different tournaments. I remember playing against and kind of the growing pains that come with that transition. I feel like there was just so many highs and lows of like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Like, I believed that I could, but then you have those like, can I actually do this? And then I think even going into that tournament, there were so many questions and doubts and different things, again, not from myself and not from, my teammates or our team, but just kind of outside noise of it. So I think just to have that moment, like in that game, in that time, and really feel like I just helped the team in a really big way. And I think everybody has those moments, whether it's scoring goals or blocking shots or, even just being like the person that's like hype man on the bench that's not even getting the minute. Like everybody has those like moments where you're like, I did this for the team, and you can see it, in the like how things play out.
Yeah, I think you feel the respect of your teammates on the national team the moment it's clear that you can help the team win. Like when everybody's like, we need her to win, I think that's when you're like, okay, I'm here. Like this is how I've kind of made it now. And I do feel like that moment in 2019 for you was like, we all had so much confidence in you, but that was your moment to the whole world of like, I'm helping this team win this World Cup. And it was just this moment of like Alyssa Naeher is so unstoppable in goal. And we all felt so confident to know that you were behind us. That was like a kind of a career defining moment. What about just like your favorite US women's national team memory? Like, can you tell us a story or paint a picture that kind of captures one of your happiest or most exciting or most fun or most silly moments on the team?
It's a good question. There's a lot. It's a lot to choose from. I don't know. It's easy to point back to the game. Like even I feel like I'll never forget the semifinal game against Germany in 2015. I mean, that game was like, had everything. It was insane. If you think, I guess, of the silly, the fun, like all of the celebrations that we got to do after, like in 2019 and 2015, like we went to a Taylor Swift concert. We had parades in New York City. We had, like we were on stage with Taylor Swift. We didn't just like go to the concert. We were like,
I know,
hanging out
what was that
on
like?
doing that. Like, it was insane. You're just like, I was holding the flag because everyone's like, oh, that's so cool. You got to hold the flag. I'm like, I held the flag because they said everyone else had to like dance out on stage. And I was like, I am not dancing anywhere.
No,
No
I need
chance. I
something
was
to do
like,
with
give me
my
the flag.
hands.
I was like, exactly. But it was just like, I don't know, all those moments, because it's like you work so hard to then like on the field and do the things, and you've got all the off-field coffee moments and driving the minivans around and just loading everyone into soccer mom cars and just ordering crumble at all hours of the night and eating, just kind of, the little things like that. But I think just our party in Paris after the most, obviously this summer, was when you get to have those moments where you like get to celebrate and enjoy. I mean, even I think back to Rio after we lost, and it was just like that moment of, the whole team coming together and just like sitting around the pool and sitting around just having drinks together and just being like together as a group. It's like, those are the pieces that, like in the good times and the bad, it was just, you remember those things.
I know. It's so funny because it feels like we played soccer so much, like probably 90% of the time. And only 10% of the time was it like social and having a drink around a fire and doing having parties and going to Taylor Swift concerts. Like it was so outweighed, but you really remember the social times more and the times that you came together as people and not in teammates and not just as players. Do you think that that's the most rewarding part of being a part of the US women's national team, is kind of the relationships created?
Absolutely. I think that's it's the best part. And the people that you get to meet, I think it's like you have the one commonality is you all play soccer, and you kind of just get thrown into this environment, and then you realize and you learn so much about other people, and like people grow up in different ways and they have different beliefs and different values and and everyone kind of comes together, and it's like this, it's like this common respect too, that you learn about each other, you grow with each other, and you create these like lifelong bonds with people that you never really would have interacted with or gotten to know if you weren't a part of this team. And I think for me, something that's so special is my first camp was 2009. So back then it was like Lori Kolupny was my first roommate at camp, and just like having now experienced like so many different generations of people and watching, I think it's been really cool to see I remember like when I was first getting in, seeing the relationships and the friendships of the older girls, and be like, oh, this is what this is like. Like you can see like the love for each other and different things. And then it was like my generation and like our relationships and how we had all been together for so long. And now again, watching, I think that was one of the coolest parts about being part of the team in this most recent Olympics, was like watching the young ones now start to have those memories and start to create those
cool.
like relationships, and just like having the bird's eye view of like that development, because that's what this is all about. That's what matters in the end of it. Obviously you want gold medals, you want to win trophies, you want to win games, you want that type of a legacy, but the people that you get to do it with along the way is what makes it so special.
I know. I completely agree. And I know I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I was so afraid when I retired that I would never feel that again. And there honestly have been moments, even at NWSL Championship weekend this past weekend, seeing former teammates and having those social moments again and realizing that the relationships aren't going away just because we don't play on the same team anymore. What we have formed together is like a really lasting thing. I want to look at this camp ahead for you. Now, this announcement is out. Everybody knows that this is your last camp. How do you hope to be celebrated by the team this week? You're in England, you're going to be in the Netherlands. You have two huge games to win. What are your hopes for camp?
Honestly, I want to go out with 2 wins. I think this is
Yeah.
like it's such an incredible opportunity for this team to get to play at Wembley, play against England, play against two like such high quality opponents to finish out the year. Anytime you can also like go over to Europe and get challenged and being on the road, it's like another evolution of the growth of the team and where you're at. So I think I'm honestly just looking forward to I'm going to treat it like any other camp. Honestly, I would focus on the games and kind of like I said at the beginning, because I had a feeling that this could be it at the beginning of the year. I feel like it's been like just really, really trying to soak everything in. I think I've always been somebody that doesn't really take things for granted anyway, because you never really know when the end is the end. And I think it's not lost on me that this is really special, and it's not necessarily commonplace for people to know going into something that it's the end. I think that's something that's always been really hard about this team, is how many players that have given everything they've had to this program, to this team, and then it's just, whether it's through injury or just through falling out of favor or different things, with new coaches and turnover. I think it's definitely not lost on me that this is a really special opportunity to go into something knowing and not having the question marks about it. So I definitely just want to kind of soak in all the things, enjoy all the coffees, all the early mornings and the meetings, and just have fun with it and enjoy being with the team still. And again, these are 2 incredible games that the focus is like, I want to win. You want to go out on 2 wins, and not just for me, but to finish such a strong year that we've had as a team. I think just would be huge to put the exclamation point on 2024.
Well, it is so hard for any of us to envision a U.S. women's national team without Alyssa Naeher. Do you see, just in having experienced Emma Hayes and this team under her for the past few months through the Olympics, do you see a clear path forward for the future of this team under Emma Hayes, and what do you think that looks like?
I think so. I think the future is super bright for the group and for the team. I think you have, Emma's energy and her like desire to win, and just that, I think something that she was able to do very quickly this past summer was able to just figure out how to get the best out of everybody and what that looked like on the field. And not just people on the field, but as humans, as people. And I think having to help like drive some of those, trying to build instant chemistry very quickly. And I think now is given the opportunity with a longer lead into anything through obviously a January camp, and then She Believes coming up. I think it's an incredible opportunity for like more evaluation, bringing more players in, and really, again, I think she has been great in hearing out and listening and really understanding, whether it was like through all the stuff we did with the 99ers this summer and just different players and different conversations. I think she does have a really good sense of the history of the team, the DNA of the team, and she has no interest in changing those like core things that has always made the U.S. Women's National Team what it is. But obviously she has her own expertise and her own experiences that she can help infuse into that can everybody's job. Becky's always talked about it. Kelly's always talked about it. We're all just kind of, stewards of this jersey, stewards of this thing. And I always love when they talk about it like that, because it's so true. It's like you learn from the people ahead of you and what they pass on. And then it's our job in those moments to just try to represent as best we can and help then encourage the next generation of like, hey, this is what really matters. But also then giving the freedom of like, but now put your twist on it. Now put your like little stamp on like, how can it evolve? How can we continue to make it better while maintaining that core DNA. And I think that she's going to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the next generation, like news alert, everybody, there is going to be an open position on the U.S. women's national team in goalkeeper. Alyssa, who are some of the players you think will be vying for that spot? And what is your advice to them? Like, and can you reference your experience doing this, having to step into a role that was filled for a long time before you? How did you make a stamp on the position? And how would you advise these players to make this their own and do what you did?
I would say, honestly, just be yourself. Like there's no, like, I always tried very hard to me, it was never about comparison. It was never trying to be anybody other than myself. Obviously, the history of goalkeeping and Bri and Hope, obviously, were two incredible goalkeepers for so long. But even in that, I mean, there's, Siri Molinex and, Nicole Barnhart's been around and done great things. And Jill Lloyden was in for a long time. And, I had the opportunity, it was me and Ashlyn for so long together, and just the healthy competition that her and I had, while also having like a mutual respect and support of each other, helped both of us. I mean, she was instrumental for me, and in 2019, she was like a huge help for me. I wouldn't have been able to do what I did on the field without her in my corner. And I think that's a really big balance of, we're all competing. You all want to be the starter. You all want to be the one on the field. But it is that kind of, that you fight, you compete, and then you also support. And how do you keep finding that balance? And then just don't try to be anybody else. Like I tried to learn from every different goalkeeper and goalkeeper coach that I was ever with. And I would try this. I'm like, oh, she did really well with that. I'm like, I wonder if I can. And I'm like, it's not for me. Can't do that. But then there'd be other things. I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, let me incorporate that into my game. I like the way that helps me. And I think just piecing together all the different things from either training partners or coaches or different things kind of helped me create my own style, my own version of how I wanted to play. And I think hopefully other goalkeepers can learn and take pieces of what I've done and pieces of my game and incorporate that into their own. But then it's got to be their own. It's got to be what makes them feel like they can be successful and help the team. Obviously, the style of the team is going to be a big piece of it too, how Emma and them, how they want to play, how they expect the goalkeepers to play. I think the fun part about goalkeeping is it's like constantly evolving. You're always when I started playing, I could pick the ball up on a back pass. Like I had 4 steps once I kicked the ball. I didn't have the 6 seconds or whatever it was.
What?
So it's like, yeah.
What year was this? 1979?
I mean, when I got into my first youth camp with the 16s or 17s, I remember I put the ball down on for a goal kick and I stepped back in goal. And I remember Erica Walsh was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. My sweeper has to kick that ball." She was like, "What?"
We don't do that. We don't do that anymore.
She's like, "No, goalkeepers kick their own goal kicks." And I was like, "Okay, let me go learn how to kick a goal kick."
Got it.
Cool, let me get right on that.
Is the goalkeeping pool strong for the U.S. women's national team? Like, how much faith do you have in these up-and-coming keepers who will be vying for this spot?
I think so. I think it's, I think one of the benefits as well with the league getting stronger, obviously not just here in the U.S., but around, around the world globally. I was fortunate when I was 23, I ended up going over to Germany after the WPS had collapsed. And I played 65 games in a 2-year span. And for me, as a young goalkeeper, that's huge. You have to gain the experience of playing. And it's same thing from graduating college when you're trying to get your first job. You're like, yeah, I need someone with 5 years experience. And you're like, well, how do you get experience if you don't get experience? Every job, you can't get hired, but everybody's like, oh, you need experience. So I think it's kind of similar to that. So I think it's awesome that week in and week out, there's at such a high level, because there's only so much you can train and learn. You're staying sharp, you're learning different things technique wise, but in order to keep getting better and better, it's the decision making and the fast decision making and in the moment type things that you really only can learn through playing in games and honestly making
Mm-hmm.
mistakes in games and rebounding from that and be like, okay, let me try not to do that again. So I think the fact that the pool is as deep as it is and all of the goalkeepers are able to play game after game after game, I think is going to be really beneficial.
Well, we know you'll be back for the 2025 NWSL season with the newly renamed Chicago Stars. So we'll all try to stop panicking for just a second because there is still more soccer with Alyssa Naeher. Stepping away from the national team is definitely a decision that will free up some time for you, Alyssa. What are you looking forward to next year, knowing that you're only going to have one team to play for?
I think for me, it will probably be, it's going to be weird at first. I think we're going to have different breaks, but I think I'll be able to just take the time, and you miss out on a lot of different things when you're doing both. Obviously, the reward is so high, and it's worth it. But I think just being able to take some of that time and either have my family come out here to Chicago and visit, or me being able to go back home. And I think just like being able to spend time and hopefully starting to get into some hobbies, putting some things into place, like forward thinking and future thinking, and being just kind of enjoying being a little bit more freed up with some things, and try to dive into some other endeavors and see kind of in that phase of like trying to figure out like, what do I like? What do I not like? What could I see myself doing in the future? And just being able to just enjoy being, with Chicago and with the team, and like focusing in on, trying to put together a championship team, trying to help continue to build this, the organization. I think we took a lot of steps this past year in the transition, but hopefully now going forward, we can really hit the ground running and get, even better within the organization, and helping be a part of that is something I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome. Well, last question, Alyssa. How do you hope to be remembered? I know you're not done yet, but you are leaving the national team. What kind of goalkeeper and what kind of person and teammate do you hope that we all think of you as when we think back on this era of miraculous shot stopping years from now?
It has always been my goal every single day, whether it's been with the national team or professionally. I always just have wanted to help the team win and be a good teammate, be there be someone that can be relied upon, not just as a teammate, but as a friend in different moments. And I think for me, I hope that me as a person is what gets carried on. And I hope that I could have helped teach a little bit to those around me, and to just leave like a lasting good impression. I hope that I'm remembered as a good teammate, somebody that always worked hard, somebody that always pushed myself and everybody around me. And I think that all of the extra stuff, all the wins, all of that is extra. It's all kind of gravy on top of what we're trying to do. But I just hope I am remembered for, staying true to myself and being a good person, being a good friend, being a good teammate, and just that willingness and commitment to the team. I think that I've given everything I've had to this team for the last 10 years, and I'm very proud of that, and proud of what I've done and committed to the team. So hope that can kind of carry on.
Well, I know it will carry on for me for sure. Alyssa, I will always remember not just playing with you with the national team, but then in the off season, being in Boston together in the winter, going out to Harvard in 25-degree weather and just taking reps, shooting on you. We both knew we needed the training. You're so right to say that your commitment to the team is such a core piece of who you are and the teammate that you were. And you taught me so much of that, about what it looks like to work hard, be committed to the team, to just show up every day and perform and keep pushing yourself to be the best. I consider myself so lucky to have played with you and won a World Cup with you, and to have been close friends with you over this whole journey. And I do just want to say, I know you're just starting into this transition of eventual full retirement, but I would love to be a resource for you and talk you through my experiences and what I thought about and what was hard for me. It's definitely a journey of a lot of ups and downs, but I'm here for you. And I think that it's so great for me to know that we'll continue to be in each other's lives because we already go way back, and I know that friendships like this are here to last. So I so appreciate you sharing this moment with us here at the women's game. Congratulations on your retirement from the U.S. women's national team. I wish you nothing but joy and wins this week when you celebrate your national team career. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Lissy, that was so cute.
That was fun.